Well, it's been just over 2 weeks of using the first developer beta version of iPadOS 16 and a few days of using beta 2 as well. But there are some issues. In my last video where I compared Stage Manager with Samsung DeX, I promised to keep you up to date, so this is an update to that video. And let me put a big disclaimer here right off the bat in case you haven't watched that video. It is early and issues are to be expected this early in the development phase. Of course they are. But some of these issues, to me anyway, are quite fundamental, and I'm not convinced that they can be fixed, or even if Apple wants it to be fixed. I'm Alex and I do down-to-earth tech reviews. So let's talk about what I discovered in iPadOS 16 that I believe really needs fixing, for the next beta version, hopefully in the next few days, but ultimately to be in the final beta version and, eventually that goes out to the public. I've got to start with Stage Manager because that is the biggest change, right? The most impactful to the majority of people who care about the iPad. I won't be comparing this with DeX today. I have done that in that other video somewhere. I'll put a link down here for you, but I will be doing another comparison with DeX once the latest beta is out there. Just make sure you stay tuned for that one. And let's start with the positives, right? There's a couple. I really like the gestures concept here. They took something that was already working really well in iPadOS 15. I used the 3-finger swipe a lot, in the previous iPad versions. So they took that and made it slightly better for Stage Manager. And I really, really like that. Sometimes we don't need a crazy change, a small improvement is all that's needed. But like many things with Stage Manager, it's not really flowing that nicely just yet. But I really like how this particular feature is going. I like the direction there. It's the sort of thing that we expect from Apple. Being a long-term Apple consumer, it feels intuitive. It feels, it has a nice animation to it. No time wasting when you're trying to swipe, between applications. And as you can see here, I've got to be honest, it's still a bit clunky. But I am confident that this will be fixed before the final version is released. There's nothing that worries me about this. In general, the Beta 2 seems to be crashing more often than the previous beta, the Beta 1, which is very odd, could be my perception here as I'm using more, trying to find problems, But before I go into the negatives, there's something else that I really like with Stage Manager, which is the ability to keep it hidden. So even when you are using Stage Manager, you could still make it, you can make the most of your display. In my case here, the whole point of buying the 12.9-inch big boy iPad is to have more space on the screen. So, the Stage Manager multitasking view kind of takes that space away a little bit when you're not connected to a monitor. So it's nice to be able to go full screen on the iPad, and only when you need to, swipe left, you get the Stage Manager look, very, very intuitive again, very Apple-like. That experience I really like. And I think that's where it stops, right? Like you probably did. I really got excited when I heard that Apple were finally bringing the ability to use the iPad with an external monitor. And the introduction of Stage Manager, that's all great, but there's always a but, right? Extending the display. Let's say you don't want to extend the iPad display, but instead you want to mirror it. Maybe you want to save space on the desk for whatever reason. This is a minor issue. There's probably not that many people out there trying to use clamshell mode with a mirror display. You may as well get a laptop when you start doing these edge cases, right? No, wrong. I'm fed up, to be honest with you, with making apologies for Apple. I bought this expensive product. Let me use the bloody thing in whichever way I like. Another minor issue, and this is a tiny one, is it happens when you click on a link inside an email and then try to open that link in a browser that is already paired with another app in Stage Manager. You can pair applications together. In my case, Gmail, trying to open a link in Chrome, which I guess is a super common thing that people will do. At the moment, it's not just struggling, it's just broken. I also noticed that if you have Stage Manager on and you decide to watch a movie, say something a bit darker like Batman, the iPad Pro Retina display, remember the blooming issue? I did a video about this, but I said it's never a problem. What are people talking about, this blooming thing? Well, it turns out with Stage Manager, that is an issue. This little thing in the corner here, it doesn't matter what you do, it won't go away. And you'd think that Apple TV, after a few seconds would just assume that you're now watching a bit of content and kind of disappear, get out of the way, just give me my uninterrupted content. Maybe if I touch the screen during whatever's playing, that could appear, and again, if I don't do anything for a few seconds, it goes away again. That's really annoying because you got to keep turning Stage Manager on and off, and that doesn't feel very Apple. It's very poor UX, UI. We can blame developers for third-party apps, and in a lot of cases, Absolutely, they haven't had the time yet to develop for Stage Manager. But this one is on Apple, right? It's iPadOS and Apple TV. You know, there's nothing else going on here. As I said, and I hope I'm not doing something wrong here, but it feels weird. Surely they've been trying this themselves, right? Between Apple stuff, they've been using this for months, if not over a year. Don't know. Anyway, those were minor issues. There's a biggie coming. Actually, let me know in the comments by tapping the word, I don't know, clams, if you agree with what I said earlier about using the iPad in whichever way we like as customers. And this is also going to tell me if you watched this far, which makes you a bloody legend. Thank you so much. And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe, because YouTube, you know, sometimes will make it very hard for videos like this to be discovered. This is just a small channel still, so yeah, hit the notification bell too if you want to. I'm here once a week with a new video, and I'll be following this iPad development very closely. Moving on then, I gotta be careful now not to swear here, because for some reason, someone at Apple decided that it would be a great idea to have these black bars on the display. Still in 2022. They clearly showed us that it is possible, right? They're like, you can use an external monitor with the iPad. Yeah, it only took us 12 years, but here it is. So why the hell is it that when you mirror the display onto, say, a 4K monitor, why do we still get those bars? You know, I said I wasn't going to compare the iPad with the Tab S8 Ultra, but I have to do it in this case. That does it, no problem, on any display and wirelessly. So, I mean, can you imagine Steve Jobs still being around? Now, I don't see the logic sometimes with Apple. I really struggle to understand here. The other thing that is not quite right is the resizing of windows in Stage Manager. This is something that you're always going to do. This should be bread and butter for any multitasking setup. The system does allow you to do it, but it kind of decides for you where to put the windows. You know, I know there's probably quite a bit of development, not just from Apple, but, you know, as I said, the third-party app developers to go through and make this better. But I can't see this one changing too much in the final version. This to me is typical Apple, right? It's hard to explain, but if they were to allow the windows to be resized as we want it, I think we would have seen that on the first beta. But to me, it feels like they just don't want to be seen as copying others, you know? So they have to be making things a little bit different, even if it's, in this case, quite painful to customers. Okay, so we can't resize the windows as we like, but at least we can move them around, right? And move them freely, no? Nah, again, you can move them about, but once you let go of the mouse, it lands wherever iPadOS thinks is best. Sometimes it's great and it lands in a better place than you thought, but sometimes it's just crap. And here's another issue that I think is quite, you know, as I said, fundamental. I just don't like how Stage Manager looks. I think it's trying too hard to look cool. Every time I try to use Stage Manager and work in the Stage Manager look and feel, I just end up going to full screen mode, which is kind of, you know, bit pointless. You know, as I mentioned in the positives, it's nice that you can sort of hide it. I'd be quite happy if they just left it at that, but it's almost like they want to show us, you know, look, we've been busy, you know, promise we've been busy. See these pretty things on the side. So yeah, when you're not hiding it, you lose quite a bit of screen real estate. It will look great on the new rumored 14-inch iPad. You can just see it coming, can't you? I mean, let's be honest. It will make a lot of sense on a much bigger screen. It's probably going to cost a pretty penny too, right? Probably, I don't know, $2,000 by the time you add some upgrades. Still just going to be an iPad though, right? Just a tablet. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not getting pro apps or anything crazy, right? Unless Apple pulls it out of the bag and delivers something amazing with the new iPad. Who knows? I find it unlikely at this point, and I've been burned in the last couple of years expecting something from Apple and even reading between the lines in their ads and their events, and then we get nothing. But hey, you know, we can connect the iPad to a monitor now if you get an M1 iPad. Yeah, that's the other thing that's getting me slightly pissed. Very pissed, actually. I'm not afraid of sharing my opinion here, by the way, but turns out I'm not alone. A lot of you commented about this on my last video. I think it's an outrage. It's stupid. Look, I don't know anything. All I know is based on my experience, and I'm just a guy on the internet, but to me, there's no technical reason why Apple wouldn't allow older iPads from 2018 even or 2020 to push an external monitor. As some of you already told me, you know, some phones from back in 2017 could do that, right, with 4 meg memory. So if any Apple fanboy tells you, oh, it's because it hasn't got enough RAM, just call BS on them, okay? Where was I? Sorry to run there, but you know, look, I know it's beta, but I find this whole set of new features, I don't know, they're cutting a bit fine for me here. You know, there's a huge amount. There's a huge amount of known issues, lots of issues where they are providing workarounds, but yet to me it feels like a bit of rushed software. You know, surely they haven't just started working on this, right? Maybe they have, who cares? All we care as customers, and I keep saying, or I'm a consumer as well, is that it works when it actually ships. I'm not hating on Apple, by the way. This whole video is a bit of tough love. I've just seen far too many people glossing over some of these issues because, oh, it's Apple. I'm a consumer first. Sure, I probably get more views if I just say how amazing Apple is. Maybe I get invited to Apple's office and sit in a nice chair with Mark Hayes, you know, to say how amazing Apple is, you know, and how crap everyone else is. But we both know, you and I know, those guys don't trick us. You know, the only reason we buy Apple products is because we think they're the best in class. But I just think the iPad could be so much more, you know, if it's given the right software. And there's so much more content over here in this playlist that I've done for you, and YouTube reckons that you're gonna like this one over here. I hope they're right. See you soon.
Yeah, I'm watching the rise, and I wouldn't say I'm shocked 'cause I'm hardly surprised. This one's for the ride.